Hi everyone, I'm gonna talk about the ElevenLabs Field module that I have created. It's currently in alpha stage, so don't use it for production yet. But this is a preview, what you can do with it basically. Um, for anyone that doesn't know ElevenLabs is a service where you can generate very realistic speech from text basically. And they have an API service, so the module I created hooks into the API service and generate things from Drupal text fields into audio. And this can be used for things like accessibility, but you could even create virtual podcasts with this, and I'm gonna go ahead now and show you how. So what you see in front of you is, your default Drupal website. It's just a standard Drupal installation. I'm just gonna go ahead and log in. It's currently running locally for me. And I have just created one article then with one of the node types that came with the standard installation, where I have some information on Michelin guides. And I'm gonna go ahead now and show you the easiest use case then for accessibility, where you can create a voice version of the article you have. So the ElevenLabs Field module is just a module like any other module. You just go and find it, choose it, ElevenLabs Field, install it. After you have installed it, there is configuration, web services, ElevenLabs settings. And under there you have to give your API key. So I've already added it to settings.php. I'm not gonna show you my key, even if I could of course generate another one. But all you have to do is basically log into ElevenLabs and get your API key from there and paste it here. Or even better, put it in settings.php so it's not getting exported in your config and you might push it to your repo and so on. Then after that you can go to basically any content type. You could do it on a block or any custom entity really that's fieldable, and add a field. And then there is now then a new field called ElevenLabs. So I just go ahead and call this speech field. And after you have added it, you can of course say where it should be stored. I don't have the possibility on this system right now to have private files, or if I install some blob storage module or something like that, but currently it's just public files. Otherwise you would have the option to store it somewhere else. You can say how many values you want, like with any other field. In this case we will go ahead and just take one because we're just gonna copy the article, right? And the field configuration is very similar to a file field. So you can set required, you can say where it should be saved. So we could save it in ElevenLabs, and then you can also say a file name that you want to use. And you can use tokens for this to actually generate the name. I'm gonna come later for this resaving an audio field when we talk about virtual podcasts or things that has dialogue in them, or maybe where you want a quote to be spoken in another voice than the rest of the article. But right now I'm just gonna go ahead and save it and go back to the content I had here then. And now you see that I have the speech field here. So what I can go ahead and do now is just copy this, paste it, and then select a voice. And the voices comes from ElevenLabs. So it also include models you trained yourself. So you can see my model here, Marcus Johansson, that's me. So it can sound like me if I want to. But I will just take some random one here, Ellie. And there's two ways I can generate this. Either I can just go ahead and save, and then it will take some time because it has to wait basically for ElevenLabs to finish this, or we can create generate audio before we publish the content. And the advantage of this is, of course, we're gonna be able to preview it as well, which means we can listen to it, say that, okay, this is okay quality. this is what we want to keep. Or if we don't like it, we have the option to regenerate the audio until we find a version that we like, basically. This can take some time. I've seen that ElevenLabs, it fluctuates a little bit. Certain times it's faster, certain times it's slower. But now you see here, we have 23 seconds of audio. If we start listening to it...
The Michelin Guides are a series of guidebooks that have been published by the French tire company Michelin since 1900. The guide awards up to...
Yeah, you can hear it's pretty good quality. Maybe not the voice we wanted. So you could choose another voice, regenerate it. But yeah, we'll be happy with this. So we just save it, and then if we go then to the Michelin Guides, there is a play field here.
The Michelin Guides are a series of guidebooks that have been published by the French tire company Michelin since...
So we can listen to it. And that's basically the simplest version. The field itself, I can show you, has some other display versions. So we have the ElevenLabs formatter that's built in, and this has a virtual player. And I will come to later what the virtual player is, because when you just have one audio, it doesn't make that much sense actually. So we can say that we want to show the speaker labels, the speaker text. We can show every audio element, because if you generate many, it's gonna be many audio elements. And save this, and if we reload now, then you're gonna see we have the virtual player, but we also have the text, the speaker, and the audio file. You can also use the generic file. That's the same as any file entity where you would just see the link then, so you can download it. And there's also the audio controller, which is part of the Drupal formatters. So you just get a normal HTML5 audio element. And that's it. But the reason then that we have the visual player is when we come to a little bit more of an advanced mode that I will show. So say that we want to create something a little bit more complex. So we want to create a podcast, for instance. What we can do then is we're just gonna create a new content type here called podcast. Save this. We don't need a body in this case. We're just gonna create a ElevenLabs field again, and we're gonna let it have a dialogue. Save it, and in this case we take unlimited then, so we can create as many back and forth as we want, basically. We put it in podcast, and maybe we call it podcast.mp3, and we save it. We should probably make it required actually, but anyway, my podcast. And then we start a podcast with like, hello and welcome to Drupal showcase with Marcus. Today I'm joined by Matthew Good, who will talk about his favorite modules. Welcome to the show, Matthew. So I'm just gonna create one bounce back and forth, so one very, very short dialogue. I can take my voice actually, so you can hear it. And then we add another item here. Thank you for having me, Marcus. I'm a big fan of your show and will for sure have fun. I don't know, something like that. I take this Freeman voice here, and I'm gonna go ahead and save now, so you can see also that it actually gets generated by just clicking save. Of course, if you add a lot of fields and you have a short timeout, this is not a good way of doing it, because your timeout might hit you before everything is generated. So in that case, you should probably go ahead and generate everything. So then I have my podcast here, and what's interesting now, you will hear the dialogue flow back and forth now then.
Hello and welcome to Drupal Showcase with Marcus. Today I'm joined by Matthew Good, who will talk about his favorite modules. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having me, Marcus. I'm a big fan of your show and will for sure have fun.
Yeah, so there we have that. The problem with this then is if we turn this, if we show the display here, you're gonna see what it actually does. So now I will show all the fields. So what it does is
Hello
it starts
and
the first
to Drupal
one, right?
Showcase with Marcus.
When it's
Today,
talking, and
I'm
then when it comes
joined
to
by
the next
Matthew
one,
Good,
it's gonna pause
who
this
will
and
talk about
jump
his
to this. We can actually go forward.
I'm a big fan of your show and will for sure have fun.
So this is JavaScript taking care of this, which is it's okay, but I actually built in an even better solution for people that are a little bit more serious with wanting to auto-create podcasts, auto-create commercials, for instance, or something alike. So what we have then is, if you go to, well, first of all, I can show you the advanced field. So there's something else you can actually do that's pretty cool. So in the form, we're gonna show the start time and the advanced field that are available. So if you're just creating a speech for accessibility or something, that probably doesn't make sense. But as you can see, I have some more options now. So I have advanced field, and these are the extra options that ElevenLabs basically offer. So you can read more about them by reading the descriptions. It's basically to be able to control if the speech should be fluid, or if it should be very distinct, or if it should be close to the model that it trained on. It also has the option to choose the model, but automatic is a very good way to choose this, because what it does, it checks the language of the node and takes the last model that fits, basically, which usually means the best model, so you don't actually have to choose yourself there. But there's also start time then. So in any natural dialogue, there might be time to think, right? So someone asks a question and someone has to think a little bit. So say that what did we call him? Matthew has to think a little bit before answering. We can do start time 1000 milliseconds then. Resave it.
Hello and welcome to Drupal Showcase with Marcus. Today, I'm joined by Matthew Good, who will talk about his favorite modules. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having me, Marcus.
So you hear he's waiting in a little bit, right? And you can even talk over, meaning you could set -1000 and then the person actually starts talking before the other person. Anyway, I'm gonna set back to 0, and then I'm gonna show you what you can do if you have access to FFmpeg on your machine. So as I said, this is alpha. I'm probably gonna add support for Vox as well later, but I started with FFmpeg because yeah, I have a lot of experience with video pipelines, basically, so I knew it inside out. So, but I'm gonna try to add Vox later and check how that works. So what you can do is basically resave what you're doing here in another audio field. So what I need to do to be able to do this is to add an audio field. So I just add a file field called the audio. Let's just call it that, right? So and we can set unlimited, so you can actually have it just copy file by file, but that doesn't maybe make that much sense. Here you have to set MP3, otherwise it's not gonna show up. And then we save it, and then when we go back to dialog, you can choose it here. So you basically say everything we generate here is gonna go to the other audio field. But if you have FFmpeg, then you can concatenate it, which means basically that you will create one MP3. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna hide our dialog and just keep the audio as an audio player. Save it. And then if I go back and resave now, you're gonna see that I get one audio file. That is the whole dialogue.
Hello and welcome modules. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having me, Marcus.
And this, of course, I can download as one file then. Yeah, so we're gonna continue now. I added some fields actually. I did a cut there and just added some fields so we have a full set of communication back and forth. So the last thing we can do now to add some more flair to it. So this would be a good use case if you're doing a podcast, so like a virtual podcast, creating auto jingle commercials or something like that, is that you want to add music. So you want to pad it or add an intro, outro, or a soundscape. So this is also possible when you have FFmpeg installed. So what you can do then is just click the intro, choose a file that you want. So I'm gonna take intro.mp3 here. You can also add another field to the entity and use that instead. So the order is that if there is a field and this has a file, it's gonna use this, otherwise it falls back to the default value for the whole entity here. And that way you can actually add different music to different entities. You can choose the volume then as well. And then the same thing with the outro. I want the outro, and then soundscape is basically adding music underneath the speech. And this has some more option then. So you can say playing length. So we can say we only want it to play for 15 seconds, for instance. You also can say the start padding. So it should play a little bit of music. In this case, 3 seconds before they start talking. There shouldn't be a fade in, and if this value, the playing length was 0, you can prolong the music for X amount of seconds. So basically when they're finished talking, the music would continue for 3 seconds in this case. This only makes sense, of course, if the music file is longer than what they talk. Otherwise it would end early, of course, as well. And then we can say how long it should take to fade out the music. So we say 5 seconds. So the last 10 seconds is gonna be a fade out. And then you can see currently the file is 30 seconds, but if I resave now, then hopefully it's gonna add some intro and outro and it's gonna be longer, like 45, 50, or even 1 minute. So we will go ahead and listen to this basically.
Hello and welcome to Drupal Showcase with Marcus. Today I'm joined by Matthew Good, who will talk about his favorite modules. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having me, Marcus. I'm a big fan of your show and will for sure have fun.
Could I start right away by asking you what your favorite theme is, Matthew?
That question is a little bit too controversial for me, so I will not answer it.
Okay, then we end the show here.
So there you have it. That's basically how you can use this module. I hope you find it useful. It's still in alpha stage, as I said before. Tread carefully before putting it on production. Hopefully within a week or something I should be able to release beta stage at least. Yeah, thank you for listening.